Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's get to Purim. Turn to the book of Esther, chapter 1. Also, in your apocrypha, you need to go to the editions of Esther. If you have the red apocrypha, it's page 55. To do this lesson properly, you have to go from the Bible. Well, it's all the Bible, but you have to go from the apocrypha back and forth. All right? The reason is the editions of Esther are only written in Latin. There are no surviving manuscripts in Greek or Hebrew. So this is the only thing you have concerning the editions of Esther is in the Latin, and it's preserved in the Apocrypha. Okay? And it tells you that at the top. It says, the rest of the chapters of the book of Esther, which are found neither in the Hebrew nor in the Chaldee, right? And that's why we do that. So when you look at this, when you look at it, it'll tell you part of the 10th chapter after the Greek. Placed before the Greek in chapter 1. Placed in the Greek after chapter 3, verse 13. So when you study this for yourself, because you're probably going to want to, we're going to get through it, but you're probably going to want to read it for yourself because the telling of Esther is deep. You're going to do it in tandem with your apocrypha to fill in some gaps. Con? All right, go to Esther 1 and 1.
When everybody has it, say con.
Con.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 provinces.
Hey, this right here is proof that the Israelites existed, because when you go into our video, archaeological proof of the existence of the Israelites, this is mentioned, all right, of how many provinces he had and how he had war with the Israelites. That's another nation recording the existence of the children of Israel.
Right.
And we debate with people all the time saying we never existed as a nation. But the other nations know we existed. Right. The Egyptians, the Moabites, right? The people in Mesopotamia. Read on.
That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace,
Come on.
in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him.
Now, there's Xerxes or Ahasuerus is not a name. Those are titles. Like Nebuchadnezzar is not a name.
Right.
It's a title. It's like saying the president. So there are many Ahasueri, if you will, right? You can go to Daniel chapter 9 and 1. There's one that's the son of Darius. You can go to Ezra 4 and 6. There's Ahasuerus or Xerxes, that's the son of Cyrus. And Josephus says the one that we're reading about right now is Ahasuerus of Longimanus. Okay? That's according to Josephus. Right? Some scholars argue that it's all the same Ahasuerus, it's just not in chronological order. Right? So that's some insight on what the scholars say. Read on.
Verse 4. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days.
So it took him 180 days to show all the riches of his kingdom. Go ahead.
And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
So we're just in the garden, like in his foyer. Now watch the description, read.
Where were white, green, and blue hangings, fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver, upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble.
Now these are not like beds to sleep in. These are like the couches that you sit on when you come to his garden. You see how amazing that is? Read on.
And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another.
So no two drinking vessels were the same, but they solid gold. Read.
And royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should be selected, that they should do according to every man's pleasure.
These people are in the kingdom right now. In their kingdom. This is what we want. We want to live like this and do everything according to our own pleasure.
That's right.
And see our people happy and having everything. But unfortunately, when we break the commandments, we have to be in servitude to people like this, which you're about to read how base they are.
Right.
Right now, it's about to go into how base these people are. And then you got to watch them live it up. Right? So all the more reason to keep Purim, huh? Read on.
Also, Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine,
He's drunk.
he commanded
Muhammad.
Mehuman, Biztha, Harbana, Bigtha, and Abagatha, Zethar, and Carcas, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
So this is what he want to do. Yo, look at my woman. I got all these other princes and kings with me. Let me show off my wife. What scripture is that? And why would you want to do that? You got to hide them. But what are you talking about? You want to show them off, right? But that's these other nations. And what you think they do to our women, which you will see. Read on.
But the queen Vashti refused to come to Salaki. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him.
Now this is what the scholars say. He wanted Vashti to parade herself naked. He didn't just want her to come out, everybody, this is my wife, Vashti, right? No, he wanted to parade her in that garden naked before the other princes because she was very fair to look upon. So she did right. She said no, she will not do it. See, you know that he didn't just want her to come out and meet everybody because why would she protest? It was really because he wanted to basically make a demonstration out of her. And she said no. But look what happened. Read on.
Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina.
Skip that. Jump down to 15.
Verse 15. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law? Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Memucan answered before the king and his princes, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes, and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus.
So because the woman had self-respect, they taking it as a personal disrespect, like a personal offense. And they're getting up in arms against her. Watch, read on.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not.
So now they fear that, okay, her example is going to make all of our wives disobedient. But what was she asked to do? You see what I'm saying? Read on.
Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath.
Now watch this. Read on.
If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
So they coaxing the king to put her away. Like, get you another that's better than her because she won't come out and make an example of herself, right? What commandment is this? These are lawless people. They're not doing what's right. Read on.
And when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the same pleased the king and the princes. And the king did according to the word of Memucan.
So what he did was he sent letters to all the provinces to do such a thing. And that was how the Persians and Medes got down. All because Queen Vashti was not willing to make an example of herself, right? And what kind of base king would do that to his queen, right?
Right.
A heathen. Elamite heathen, man.
Right.
Chapter 2, read on.
Chapter 2, verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Haggai, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
So they made a decree, go get all the beautiful women in the kingdom and bring them to the king. All the women of marriageable age that have not, virgins, right? Bring them to the king. So that means they will come to your house and take your daughters.
Right.
Right? This is what happens when you're in captivity. Read on.
Verse 5. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shammai, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
So what tribe is Mordecai? Read on.
Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter.
So Hadassah is another name for Esther. Okay? And that's his uncle's daughter, which makes her what to him? Cousin. His cousin. Read. Read.
For she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
That's an honorable act. That's looking after your people. That's Israelite behavior. Read on.
So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were met to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it.
So Mordecai said, if they're going to take you, they're going to take you, but don't tell them that you're an Israelite. Now, you can learn something there.
Right.
I say this all the time. You in the truth for you. You're not in the truth to prove anything to somebody.
Right.
So don't be at work trying to make a demonstration. You don't have to do that. Mordecai's an honorable man. He told his daughter not to even tell that she's an Israelite.
That's right.
Right? She didn't have to go up in there, I'm a child of God. I'm an Israelite. Because they probably would have treated her harshly. Possibly I put her to death. Because we was at the bottom of this kingdom. Right? Read on.
Verse 11. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her.
Now why did he do that? Because he's like her father.
Right.
Read Ecclesiastes 42 and 9. You get it. Quick on the sword. Stay where you at, right? And then we'll get you a relief reader in a second. Because that's after 2 chapters.
It's Ecclesiastes chapter 42, verse, Ecclesiastes, right?
Ecclesiasticus, you right. Salat.
It's Ecclesiasticus chapter 42,
Verse 9.
verse 9.
Bring it out.
Okay. 42, verse 9. The father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep.
That's how the fathers feel about his daughter.
That's right.
When she's gone, he can't even sleep, right? For worry for her, right? And that's the reason why Mordecai was up and down, wondering how she's gonna do. He was outside, probably outside a window, waiting for her to blow the candle out, and probably up there early to make sure she hadn't been mishandled in the morning. How do we know this? Because Mordecai was close to King Ahasuerus, but you don't understand it here. It doesn't explain it. You have to go to the Apocrypha. Now, go to the Apocrypha and get additions to Esther and start at chapter 12, where it says chapter 12, right? And read that. It's a little block.
In verse 1.
Read smooth.
This is the book of the additions to Esther. Chapter 2 at the top.
No, chapter 12.
12.
Second column on the first page. Read
The Mordecaius took his rest in the court of Gabahath and Hariah.
Gabbatha and Thara.
Gabbatha and Thara,
Come on.
the two eunuchs of the king and keepers of the palace. And he heard their devices and searched out their purpose and learned that they were about to lay hands upon Artaxerxes the king. And so he certified the king of them. Then the king examined the two eunuchs, and after that they had confessed it. They were strangled.
You have hung. Read it.
And the king made a record of these things, and Mordecaius also wrote thereof. And the king commanded Mordecaius to serve in the court. For this his reward, this he rewarded him. And howbeit, man, the son of Amadathias, and the Agagite, who was in great honor with the king, sought to molest. That's the word.
Yes.
This man trying to molest.
That means mess with him.
Yeah.
Like in Spanish, they say no molestar, right? Don't mess with me. That's all it means. Go ahead.
Sought to molest Mordecaius, and his people began because the two eunuchs of the king.
So what happened was, that's how Mordecai got close to Artaxerxes. He warned him about a plot to kill him. So that's the detail on it, because you're just going to see it mentioned later. But that's the detail on it. Now we got to go back to the Bible before you get to chapter 3, right? So jump ahead. All right, go ahead.
I just want to point out the fact that this dude who was,
Speak louder.
this guy who was the Agagite was actually Amalek, descended from Amalek. So they always been weird freaks. To point out that point.
That's right.
All right, jump down to verse 17. So Esther had a days of purification. She was bathing in sweet odors of myrrh and oil for 6 months. You know, she was pampered for 6 months before he took her as his wife.
Chapter 2 and verse 17.
Yeah, we don't.
Verse 17. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
That's what he did.
Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king.
So now they're giving gifts to each other because the king got a new wife, right? It's ironic, because you're going to learn what Purim is about. Read on.
And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him.
That's an obedient daughter, and that's wise, because you're going to see it had to be that way. We needed Esther to be chosen and get in the position she was in, because Haman, this Agagite, Amalekite demon,
Right.
is about to do some serious hating on the children of Israel and try to get us all killed.
That's right.
Watch, read on.
Verse 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name.
So you see the chronological order. Esther had to become queen first. Then these guys tried to kill Xerxes. Then Mordecai told Esther to tell it to him, which built her credibility with the king, right? But Mordecai got the credit for it because she certified him to the king. Read on. And when?
Verse 23. And when
Inquisition.
And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree.
See, it says they were strangled in the Apocrypha, but that just means they got hung. All right? So before you go to, let's go down to chapter 3. Let's move right along. And read that. Read with spirit. 3 and 1. Read it.
Book of Esther, chapter 3 and verse 1. And these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
So this is Haman. He just got set as the right-hand man of the king. Who knows why? That's just what happened. But it's Esau, right? And you're going to learn why you don't put Esau next to you. And Ahasuerus is going to learn that. Read your in Samuel. See, we don't deal with Amalek.
That's right.
1 Samuel 15:8. We don't deal with Amalek. The Most High actually told us to kill all the Amalekites.
That's right.
Right? And then Saul ain't do it. We're going to read it. This is why Saul fell. And why David became king. Because Saul had one job. Go kill all of them, or they're going to be a thorn in your side forever. Watch. Read it.
1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 8. And he took Haggai, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly
destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Haggai, and the best of the sheep, and the oxen, and the fatlings, and the lamb, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile and refused that they destroyed utterly.
So he went up there and said, man, this is pretty good. They got some nice stuff up here. I'm going to kill all y'all, but we're going to keep this. Oh, and keep the king alive, too. Let's take him a hostage. The Lord didn't say do that. Right? Read what you holding.
This Exodus chapter 17, verse 16. For he said, because Yahweh had sworn that the Most High will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
We're going to have beef with them forever. We never liked you. Right? Read what you got.
This is the book of Deuteronomy. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25 and verse 17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when you were come forth out of Egypt.
So what happened? They was chasing us, and then you had the women, the elderly, and the sick in the back as we made the escape. And Amalek was in the back, stabbing and slicing everybody down, chasing us. Anybody we found, he killed. Right? Like a coward. He didn't face us head on. Read on, there's more.
Verse 18. How he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God.
And he doesn't fear the Most High. So he's our enemy forever. Amalek is our enemy. Amalek is so annoying, he's in the land right now pretending to be you. With a little hat on, a haircut on his head. Waving chickens around his head. It's on video. Humping the Wailing Wall, gyrating on the wall, man. Priest Sabak always teach this. He's probably going to get the channel cut. Priest Sabak always teach this. They got the highest mental retardation delay in their community because of incest. And they got a little short bus that they got multiple little short buses. And the kids be coming out of them bugged out because they be brother with sister.
With veins popping out.
They'll tell you that that's not true, but if you look, y'all from New York, if you look in you notice that in communities, a lot of times, and they also, what is it called? When they get money from the government? Welfare. They're also king of welfare. They get all the welfare. So what they do is they take, they have multiple wives. But their sisters are their wives. They put them in. Yeah, they put them in these projects, they get the Section 8 form, and all the kids are half retarded. All of them are retarded.
Be merciful though.
What?
With that word.
Most of them are special.
The lady.
Because they make fun of us.
Right.
You know, they say that we're slow. But they have their schools. They don't go to school with the rest of us. The Hasidic Jews, they have their own schools.
Yeah.
And half of them are 30.
And they got their own supermarket. D'Agostino's. I'll be all in there, touching stuff. So let's go to Esther chapter 3, read verse 2.
The book of Esther, chapter 3, and verse 2. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced him, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not.
Say what?
But Mordecai bowed not.
I don't like you.
That's right.
What about you for, man?
Right.
The king is my guy. Read.
Nor did he reverence.
And he didn't do him any reverence either, so he didn't salute. Right? So you think Esau like that?
Nah.
Esau got that shake my hand spirit.
Right.
Right? Shake my hand. And then when you deny him, he goes insane.
Right.
So how do you think Haman felt when everybody bowed as he walked past, and Mordecai was like,
He felt like he was the king, and there was that one servant that didn't kneel before him. He was being insubordinate on the rest.
you're about to see his pride get burned.
That's right.
Read on.
Verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment?
Because Yahweh said don't do that.
That's right.
Read on. That's the real king.
That's right.
Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told him to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew.
See, now Mordecai said, I'm an Israelite. That's why I'm not bowing. I'm a Jew.
Right.
Read.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
Come on.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. For they had showed him the people of Mordecai.
Mhm.
Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
Who?
Destroy all the Jews
Come on.
that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus. Even the people of Mordecai.
So he's so mad that Mordecai won't bow to him. He want to kill everybody. Yeah. And he has the power to do so because he just told you that he was elevated to like the right-hand man of the king, like a prince. Read on.
In the first month, that is, the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Purim, that is, the lot, before Haman, from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is, the month Adar.
That's where Purim comes from. The lot. Our lot. Right? Purim. The lots. Okay? Read on.
Verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of the kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people.
Who is that? The Israelites. We disperse. Our laws are diverse from all the people. That's how you know who we are. Uh-oh.
Salakia. We have a quiet room
Right here.
right here. It's couches
So you,
and everything.
hey, don't go outside of school. Read on.
Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
So Esau said they don't do your laws anyway. And they got their own laws that they follow. So there's no point for you to keep them in your kingdom. They have no purpose. So kill them all.
Right.
That's Esau.
Yep.
Watch, read.
Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasury.
And I'll pay 10,000 talents of silver for you to do it. He's pressed. All because Mordecai won't bow to him. He want to kill us all. And he want to pay to do it.
Right.
This is Esau. This is Amalek. Read.
Verse 10. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto him, the son of Hamadatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
Why are you laughing at that? Read. Now, why did the king give the ring? Because if you got the ring, you can write any document and stamp it, and it's official.
Right.
So he basically gave him the king's power.
Right.
Like, here, take my ring and do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Right? Read on.
Verse 11. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee.
Come on.
Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the month. And there was written, according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to rulers of every people of every province, according to the writings thereof.
All right, jump to chapter 4. That's enough on that. Because it basically reiterates and tells you that the law went out, and Haman and the king got cool, and they was close after that. Read on, chapter 4.
That's the chapter 4, verse 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
Because we now, all of a sudden, we want the Most High to help us. Right. That's our behavior. Like, when we in a jam, now we want to fast and cry and weep. But when things are good, we forget the Lord. You know what I'm saying? That's a bad habit. Fast regularly. Stop asking the Most High for stuff. Just pray and say thank you sometimes. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 4. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it to her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatash, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was and why it was. So Hatash went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasurers for the Jews to destroy them.
Jump down to 11.
Verse 11. And the king's servants and the people of the king's province do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his, to put him to death.
So Esther got pressure to ask the king, don't let this happen. But you have to approach the king to be able to talk to him. But if you're not called and you approach the king to talk to him, you die. That's the law. They're going to kill you for that. So look at the situation. Read on.
Except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
But the king has not sent for her, and this is a pressing matter, but she hasn't been authorized, right? So look what happened. Read.
And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
Just because you're in the king's house, don't think you're not going to catch this L with all of us, right? Because this king doesn't care. You see how he's frivolous. Oh, you want to kill some people here? Take my okay. Hey, tell my wife to come out here and walk in front of these guys. Let's go. Hammond, you in charge, right? He just does stuff, right? Read on.
I just replaced my queen. You know, you gotta get out of here too.
Yeah, you can leave. I'll get another one. That's the spirit of this Edomite.
Right.
So Mordecai is saying, don't think you're gonna escape. If this decree goes forward, you're gonna die also. So you have to do something. Read on.
Verse 14. But if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, Then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
So look what he said, right? He said, first of all, if you don't help us, the Most High gonna help us another way. But because you didn't try to help us, your father's house and your inheritance is gonna be destroyed because you didn't stand up for the people. And how do you know this whole thing didn't happen just for you to save us? That's what he said to them. Read on.
Verse 15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
But that's what our sister said. If I die, I die. But I'm gonna do this for the nation.
That's right.
Because I love my people.
God.
Right? Read on.
Verse 17. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded.
All right, so everybody understand the plot. What's happening? You got the Edomite hating. You got Esther, she has to do something. You got Mordecai, he's the strategist. Right? If you go into the king unannounced, he gonna kill you. If you don't say nothing to the king, the Most High gonna save us anyway. See how Mordecai talked?
Right.
He didn't even have no doubt that we're gonna be fine. Right? He said, the Lord will enlarge us and deliver us another way if you don't help. Right? That's faith. So in the Old Testament. So that's what's going on. But Esther wasn't scared. She said, hey, I'm gonna fast, and if I die, I die. But I'm gonna do what's right for my people. Right? That's a strong sister. Read on. Chapter 5.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 5, verse 1.
Come on.
Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter.
So the king handed her the golden scepter and made it okay. So that's problem number one. Solved. I guess fasting worked. Right? Prayer works.
Yeah.
Especially a certified effort. Certified. No, what's the word? When you got more people.
A certain.
Unified. Say what?
Effectual.
Effectual. Asserted. Collective. Effort. There it is. Read on.
Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be given thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, Shalakia. Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed.
This guy be talking, man. Right. Read on.
Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare them, and I will do tomorrow as the king hath said.
So she said, I want to make another banquet for you tomorrow. And then I'll tell you then what I want for you. She's being very subtle and kind and generous, right?
Yeah.
Careful, read.
Then went Haman forth that day joyful with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
So this dude comes by, and Mordecai like, anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not paying this guy no attention.
Yeah.
Esau pride is the only reason he's mad.
Right.
You not giving me respect. Respect me, right? And that's how they feel today. Read on.
Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and refreshed his wife,
And Zeresh.
and Zeresh his wife.
Mhm.
And having told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all these things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes in service of the king.
This guy's proud, man. Read that. Yes. Click on the sword.
Job chapter 20,
Right there.
verse 14. If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword.
So if his children be multiplied, it's for death. Remember that. Come on.
And his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread.
And they're going to starve to death. When we talk about the wicked, if their children be multiplied, it's for destruction. And what is Haman doing? He's bragging about how many kids he got and all his riches and everything, right?
Right.
Let's see how that turns out for the old buddy.
Right.
Go back and read on. Verse 12.
Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did not, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king into the banquet that she had prepared but myself. And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king? Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
Look how he's talking. In the future, he's going to want to call himself a Jew. His seed. Read on.
Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou and merrily with the king unto the banquet, and the thing pleased Haman, and he caused gallows to be made.
So you can hang them high. 50 cubits is high. Right? Because you got two types of cubits. You got from the elbow to your middle finger, that's one type of cubit.
Right.
And then you got the cubit of a man.
Right.
So it's probably the cubit of a man. That's high. So why? So everybody can see you up there. Right? That's what he want to do. He want to hang all the Jews on this gallows. Well, he going to put Mordecai up there, but he want all of us up there. Watch, read on.
Chapter 6.
It gets bad, watch.
On the night could not the king sleep? And he commanded to bring the book of records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king.
See, the Israelites got a book of Chronicles. All kings got their own chronicles to keep record of what's going on in their kingdom. They got scribes that write everything down. They had no computers, so they write everything down. A lot of the history we have is chronicles because a lot of the ancient records are like divorce papers, tax documents, and we use those documents to help us translate scripture and know when a manuscript was written. By the way it was written on the tax document, we'll compare it to the handwriting on a biblical document, and that's how we'll know. I think it's called lithography. That's how we know how to date a manuscript, right? Read on.
And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, what honor and dignity had been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in.
So look, the king was just bored one day and said, read me the chronicles of everything that happened recently. And it came up, hey, this guy Mordecai saved your life. Remember the two dudes that's trying to kill you? Mordecai was the one that saved your life. And he was like, well, what did we do for him for that? To thank him. Right? Nothing. And then here comes Haman. Right then. Watch what happens. Read.
So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than myself?
So you like, oh, you talking about me? Well. Let's see, right? Let's see. What? Read this.
And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man with all whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor.
He said, not only are you going to bring me your crown, your horse, and your purple robe, you're going to have one of your sons put it on you. Right. But he didn't say me. He just said, the man that the king delighted to honor, thinking that it was him, right?
This is how greedy Esau is.
Yes.
He's a greedy bastard.
That's disrespectful.
Ride your horse
In the streets, yeah.
And proclaim before me.
Matter of fact, I need those slippers too.
Yeah.
Salaki,
Go ahead.
that shows the ignorance of the king. He was just a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
For him to even have the nerve to request that,
He knew the king would do it.
you know, and you see this in the Elamites. They just
Simple.
simple-minded.
Yo,
They do the wee.
Do we? Number one. Now read this. But look what happened. After he requested all these things, look what happened.
Then the king said to him, make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that has spoken.
Yeah. Every single thing that you said for Mordecai, do it right now. Make haste. How you think Amalek felt? It was tight. He wanted to kill all y'all. Out his ears, man. Read.
Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning, and having his head covered.
He was hurt, man. I can't believe I gotta do this. That's what you get. Read.
And Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Remember, there's the second banquet.
Right.
So he's got to go to that thing. Now, my Bible says the downfall of Haman. Right here. Read on. Chapter 7.
It's the book of Esther, chapter
So you
7.
laughing? Oh, because it's about to get simple. Read it. Watch.
The book of Esther, chapter 7 and verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he, and where is he, that durst presume in his heart to do so?
Now, I think at this point in time, he doesn't realize that Esther is an Israelite.
Yeah.
Because he know that he gave the ring to Haman to do it. He asked for it. Right? Read on.
Verse 6, and Esther said, the advisory...
Adversary.
The adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
Because he probably sitting right there eating a big piece of pork. I know you didn't just say that. Yes, yes. Read.
And the king arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
This is the reverse of now. Because now some of our sisters, I'm going to be honest with you, tell this to the YouTube, y'all are in league with Esau.
Yeah.
You love Esau. At the workplace, everywhere, you will sell your brother down the river for a promotion or something better with this guy, right? Our sisters are supposed to be in this position. Esau come to you, you crush him.
Right.
Stop trying to be down with him. The same way we resist him, you have to do the same thing. Read.
Verse 8. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed wherein Esther was.
Now this stop. Now he asked for the crown, the horse, the garment. He asked for your princess to put it on me.
A parade.
He asked for a parade. And now I'm mad at you, but then when I come back, you laying on the couch over with my wife, all laid out, smelling like wine. Yeah. So what you think? Come on, man. This guy's out of his mind. But you know Esau, that's how he is. Read on.
Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house?
So now you want everything, and you also gonna force my wife, man. What you laying on the bed for? Hey, jealousy can't deliver from a man's wrath.
What's the correct rendition of that? Is that rape or
That's rape. Because he's basically saying, what you laying down with her for? What's wrong with you? And you know, this dude was really begging for his life, but he got too comfortable, probably been drinking and stretched out. And Esther's sitting there, she probably see the king coming and let him do that. Because it's over now. Watch, read it.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
As soon as he said, yo, you gonna force my wife? Yoked him up. And he's getting drug out the spot. Right? Come on.
And Harbonah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
Yep. Hang him on the gallows he made for the Jews. Huh? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Read.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
That's beautiful. That's what's gonna happen to Esau in the end. Because we never liked you. And you're not gonna get away. You cannot get away. And you let him stink. Right? Now, there's so much more history, but I'm going to summarize it. Basically, the king took off his ring, which he had given to Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. And Mordecai said, well, look, I got some requests that I want. Jump down to chapter 8, read verse 3.
It's the book of Esther, chapter 8 and verse 3. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the things seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews, which are in all the king's provinces.
Come on.
For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and the seal with the king's ring, may no man reverse.
Jump down to 11.
Verse 11. Wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely, upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies.
Now that's what's weird. Like, the Jews want to avenge themselves against their enemies. But people who are not Israelites today are teaching that there are no enemies and that we're all going to be in this together.
Right.
When that's never been the doctrine of the Bible from the first page.
Never.
You've never seen it.
No.
It's the other nations taking us into captivity, taking advantage of us, planning supreme wickedness against us, and then the Lord giving us the victory to punish them.
Right.
Why would that change in the end? Right? When Yahushua come back, he's going to have blood on his garment, like he's been trotting in the winepress. Coming from Basra and Dedan, that's Esau.
That's right.
So, and Paul even wrote about how God hated Esau. But that was never taught to me in the world. I never knew that was even in the Bible until I started studying this doctrine. Go ahead. You gotta talk loud.
Even when you think about the Most High's relationship with his chosen people, you know, he says, you guys disrespect me continually to my face. And then he puts us in hardcore bondage, strips us of our nationality. So how do you think that he would treat the heathen who destroyed us?
Right.
Who did abominable things to us? You think he's going to let them go and he didn't let us go? Jeremiah was righteous and he still went into captivity.
That's right.
Right? Daniel and all the Ezra, Nehemiah, they were righteous before the Most High. But they still went into captivity. So, you know, Esau may go crouching, but hey, at the end of the day, guess what? He still hates you, and he's still going to go into captivity as well.
That's right.
He's still going to be destroyed, because that's what the scriptures say.
That's right.
It says, whatever a man soweth, I tell you what, first it say, don't be deceived.
Right.
Don't let nobody deceive you. But whatsoever a man soweth, that's what he's going to reap. That's what he's going to receive.
Good teaching. Go to read on. 15.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 8 and verse
15.
Okay, verse 15.
Nah, skip that. Go to 15.
And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor.
Come on.
And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews.
Say what?
And many of the people in the land became Jews.
Why?
For the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
Stop. Christians use this verse to say everybody can be saved.
Yeah.
Did you just read what happened? What happened to everybody in these other nations? What was we doing to them? Man, woman, child, and little kids. We were slaughtering them for what they planned to do against us. Why did they become Jews? They didn't become Israelites.
Right.
See how we keep a Purim?
Right.
They doing Purim. See how we would do Passover? They would do Passover. They can't come amongst us, but they would keep our customs and behave how we behave, because they scared that if they don't, we're going to kill them. Because we have the king's seal to do whatever we want to these Edomites, man. So they behaved as we behave. That's them saying that they become Jews. But the Christians teach it like this. See, other nations can become Jews. No, it's not what that means, right? The Bible tells you in Zechariah that everybody gonna do Feast of Tabernacles.
Yeah.
And if you don't, we're gonna take your rain away and give you drought in your lands. Right? That's a horrible way to die. Starvation, right? That's your punishment for not doing Feast of Tabernacles. But did that say that they become Jews or they became Israelites for doing it? No. It means everybody gonna do what Yahweh said.
Right.
We the top nation in charge, and we're gonna see to it. That's all it means. Everybody understand?
Salakia,
Go ahead, brother.
can I say that they're gonna be Hellenized?
They're gonna be reverse Hellenized.
Thank you.
Judaized. And that's what the word means.
Yeah.
When it says they became a Jew, it says they became Judaized.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the way the translators rendered it. Jump to chapter 9 and read verse 22.
It's the book of Esther, chapter 9.
Hold on. Go ahead. We probably gonna start now. Can you say it? Can you get the start shot? We do that. Thank you. All right, go ahead. Where's that?
That's in, start at 5 and down to verse 10.
In chapter 9?
Yeah.
All right, bring it up.
It's the book of Esther, chapter 9 and verse 5. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter, and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan, the palace, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. Verse 10. The 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hands.
So they didn't take anything from them, their precious jewels and treasures, they just killed them. You know?
You want me to jump to 22?
Yeah.
Verse 22. As the days were in, the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor.
So that's what you're supposed to do in Purim. We could give gifts to each other, we feast and have a good time, or we can help the poor. That's what Purim is about. All right? You don't need these worldly holidays because we have more than them in holy days, and they're righteous, they're better. Right? You just gotta learn about them. Read on.
Verse 23. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast her, that is, the lot, to consume them and to destroy them.
That's why it's called Purim, right? They cast lots to see how they was going to kill us, and the lot fell against them. The Bible says, though the lot is cast into the lap, the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord.
That's right.
So what is the lot? It's like rolling dice. So it's like even though you threw the dice, the number that comes or the result, the Most High decided that. So brothers talk about, is it righteous to cast lots to solve problems? Like, say we have a disagreement and we don't know what to do, you'll cast a lot. Go ahead.
The disciples cast a lot to see who the new 12 disciples were going to be after Judas died.
That's true. Casting lots is like drawing straws. That's casting a lot. Even though you didn't throw anything, it's a chance. Taking a chance and taking a chance. Right? Every time you pull
slot machine,
that's casting a lot. Right? A hand of cards is a lot. Right? So then playing a lottery is casting a lot. The lottery. Right? So the thing about, I would say this, right? Don't be casting lots just cause. Yo, I don't know what I want to eat today. Cast a lot. No, because when you involve the Most High, you really gonna ask the Most High. You gonna send up a prayer and a petition. It has to be for a serious matter when you cast a lot. You have to really mean it. You understand? So I would say that. The brothers be saying that casting lots is wicked, and I disagree. How can you say that? Even when Jonah was in the boat and they were trying to figure out why the storm, whose fault it is, they cast a lot and it showed it was Jonah. They threw him off the boat. Right? Get him out of here. So casting lots is not wicked. You can't say that. But brothers do teach that casting lots is wicked. Right? In the original school in One West, they wanted to cast a lot to see if Cornelius was an Israelite. And Tahar, Elder Tahar of GMS, that was his idea. He said, cast a lot. Because they was hung up on, is he an Israelite or is he a heathen that knows his place? Because the original school used to teach, well, not used to, the original school taught that Cornelius was an Edomite that knew to bow and be subservient. And through his subservience, we was able to help him because that is our role to the other nations. Once you fall in line, then things get better for you, but you got to do it through us, right? That's the original teaching. So Tahar and Devar was like, I don't like to call him by their first name. Elder Tahar and Apostle Devar was like, all right, it's no way Cornelius could be an Edomite. Because what is crooked, you can't make straight. And he and his family was blessed. How? If he's Esau. We read about Esau just tonight.
Right.
So they was like, no, there's no way. So they came to the school and went to the elders and brought it up during the class. And the elders like, don't never say that again, and don't teach that no more, or we're gonna put you out of the school, right? And then you had Elder Nathaniel, y'all know him, and he was there, and he had a high rank and was above them in judgment, and they was debating about it, and Elder Tahar was like, cast a lot, and Elder Nathaniel said that's wicked. You can't do that. And there was a big argument in the dispute. How is it wicked to cast a lot to the side? And they was like, well, that's tempting the Lord. And we talked about this on Friday. It's not really tempting the Lord. Tempting the Lord is saying that you dare the Most High to do something. Or you bet he won't do something. Like you tempting the Lord when you purposely being wicked. That's tempting the Lord, not casting a lot. That's trying to find a decision. So that's a little history from the original school. Read on it. Where we at? Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Esther chapter 9 and verse 25. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore they called these days Purim.
Called what?
Purim.
Why?
After the name of Pur.
There you go. Read.
Therefore, for all the words of this letter and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them and upon their seed and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to their appointed time every year. And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed.
Hold on. So people say that you don't have to do Purim. It's not in Leviticus 23. It is not a sin to not do Purim. People argue this and want to debate us about that. It's like, what's wrong with enjoying a day that's from your people that had a great victory and Esau loses big time? That's better than the Super Bowl. So why wouldn't you? Hey, it's funny, right?
They want to keep Valentine's Day.
That's probably right. Or they want to do Christmas instead.
Right.
You know, you got brothers that know this Bible arguing, why you doing Purim for? Because, why not?
Right.
Same thing with Feast of Dedication. Brothers say, why you doing Feast of Dedication? Christ did Feast of Dedication.
Right.
He was happy that our forefathers came through like that.
Yeah.
The Maccabees.
That's right.
No, that guy's wrong. Go ahead.
We doing what our forefathers did. Why wouldn't you take advantage of every piece of what the history that you had? Why wouldn't you take advantage of all of that? Rather than just letting it go. Oh, we don't gotta do that. That's not in Leviticus 23. Well, we're in a society where you're abased or you're cursed, right? And it's a delightful thing to come together with your family and praise the Most High in sincerity and truth.
That's right.
If you go anywhere else, they're not gonna do that. They look at you weird because you got your fringes on. You're out at them Walmart, you got a dress on. You know what I mean? They'll get on you. You see what I'm saying? But this is your heritage, this is your culture. And what you need to do is take it back. And do these things.
That's right. Go to Esther chapter 16 in the Apocrypha and read verse 20. This is the announcement that they put out.
So what chapter 16?
Yeah, page 58 in your red Apocrypha. So it's the end of Esther, chapter 16, the additions of Esther, and start at verse 20. Read that.
Come. This is addition to Esther, chapter 16 and verse 20.
Come on. All right, start at 19 for our run.
And verse addition to Esther 16 and 19.
Come.
Therefore, ye shall publish the copy of this letter in all places, that the Jews may freely live after their own laws.
That's all it ever was about, keeping the commandments. The Bible said the same thing on every page. Read on.
And ye shall aid them, that even the same day, being the 13th day of the 12th month, Adar, they may be avenged on them, who in the time of their affliction shall set upon them. For Almighty God hath turned to joy unto them the day, wherein the chosen people should have perished. Yet shall therefore among your solemn feasts keep it a high day with all feasting, that both now and hereafter there may be safety to us and the well-affected Persians, but to those which do not conspire against us a memorial of destruction. Therefore every city and country whatsoever which shall not do according to these things shall be destroyed without mercy, with fire and sword, and shall be made not only unpassable for men, but also most hateful to wild beasts and fowls forever.
That was the record that they was walking around with the king's name on it. If y'all don't do what we say, we're gonna burn this place. Even animals not gonna want to come here. So get down and lay down. That was the record, right?
That's, you gotta teach hate.
That's the record. That's how the Israelites ruled.
Right.
Because life is like that. That's how America's in power.
Right.
That's how North Korea's in power.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how Russia's in power.
Yeah.
Go play with them African civil soldiers. Go play with them. They'll chop you, man. Right? That's what it is. This is a game of monopoly and it's war. You want land and power. The only thing that's saving, the only reason y'all are here right now, it really doesn't make any sense. Y'all was slaves. Y'all had y'all nationalities taken away. Y'all laws was done away with. Nobody loved you, but you still exist. How? Because God.
Right. That's right.
That's it. So now, re-embrace your nationality, your culture, your holy day, all that. Take it all back, and then provoke God to do this.
Right.
Now you're in power. You're chilling. You don't have to toil and slave. Esau's economy don't even make sense.
Right.
Capitalism don't work. It doesn't work. It's cannibalism. Right? Just dog eat dog. Step on everybody's back to get an inch higher. Right? That's it. God's way is better.
Yeah.
Which is be simple and well intense. But you know what I mean when I say that, right? Just let it live comfortably and let it come to you because the Most High provides. And now you don't have to do anything weird to get ahead because it's enough for us all. Why? Because we all family. Right? How am I gonna go hungry and this brother's alive?
Right.
Right. You understand?
That's it.
It's lucky.
Go ahead.
It's laws on that. Like, don't, so like that.
If your brother waxing poor,
You know, I'm talking about the one that says, don't reap the corners of your field, because that's for the orphans and
Oh,
the
strangers.
strangers. You know what I mean? Talking about your people that don't have nothing. Leave the corners for them. You know what I mean? Look out for your brother.
look out for your brother. Because who else is gonna do it? Because nobody else gonna do it.
Especially this time.
Yeah.
Everybody against you. Everybody spitting on you. Treading you underfoot. Treating you like a dog in society.
Didn't Biden just throw crack pipes at you?
Right.
It's disrespectful, man.
30 million.
That's crazy.
That's Elam.
That's it.
You know? They try to present it to us as a black woman. What has she done? And then I think somebody pressed her in an interview and she got offended. He was like, yo, you haven't done nothing. I think it was Charlamagne. He's like, you haven't done anything since you've been in office for our people. She's like, what? And she started naming all the stuff that hasn't happened yet. Charlamagne kind of let off.
She locked.
So this is going to be a memorial forever to do Purim. And it was interesting, right? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. Any questions or anything? Right there.
Go ahead, Ken.
Hey man, this is another conspiracy against all these nations that hate us. I'll go to Psalms chapter 94, and I'm starting verse 20. We just talking about how they throwing crack pipes at us. It says, 94 verse 20. It says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. But the Lord is my defense, and my God is the rock of my refuge. And he shall bring upon them their own iniquity, and shall cut them off in their own wickedness. Yea, the Lord our God shall cut them off.
That's right.
We were talking about the other day, man, having hope. Like, what to expect. You know what I'm saying? What we do this for, what we expect to receive. And one of the things to receive is our enemies to be destroyed. You know what I'm saying? The traps to be laid for them, who try to lay traps for us. So just keep pushing forward, man. Expect what the Most High has blessed you and promised you.
Hey, like in the days of old, your people were being afflicted and destroyed. Like in Egypt, guess what? We was under the Egyptians. And they put us in slavery and hard bondage and afflicted us, right? This is the book of Exodus chapter 1 and verse 12. It says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. They were grieved because of us. Despite how many crack pipes they push in our neighborhoods, guess what? It's gonna be men on those corners teaching, right? And waking up our people and taking them out of that mind state. The more they try to push and try to destroy us other people and push us, guess what? The Most High is gonna wake up more men and send them out on the streets. Right? We're gonna be deep in the streets. And we're gonna teach and wake up our people and prophesy to the dry bones.
That's right.
I just want to bring out my favorite scripture. Brothers know what this is. We bring it out at the end of every Friday camp. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 44. It says, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed.
Right.
And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Shalom.
Anything else?
5 more hours.
Y'all ready to eat?
I got one. The nationality of that king was a
You talking about Xerxes? Ahasuerus?
right.
It's also proper to call him Xerxes.
So
One is Greek and one is Hebrew. He's an Elamite.
Edomite.
Persians and Medes,
Right.
son of Darius. He's Elam. So he a Hebrew, but he's not an Israelite. Right. Because Elam is a Hebrew. Right? So is Ishmael. Ishmael is a Hebrew. Look, man. No, he's not. Actually, no, he's not. Because the Bible says he's the Bible says he's a different manner of people. So right? I don't know what Esau is. He's just out here. He's just out here. Weirdo. It's a weirdo. Yeah, man. All right, so that's the history of Esther. All right. I left out a lot of details for time's sake, so y'all can go back and read it. It's good reading it. That's right. And then you can link it with what it says to link it with. Yeah, I left a lot out of the Apocrypha, so you can link it with the Apocrypha and get the rest of the details. It goes into detail about things that were said, some of the infighting and all of that. It's very good information. That's a lot. All right, well, you know, you can go on YouTube and type in Purim.
But look, what you can do, like you said, match it up with what's going on in there. If you look in the Apocrypha, like you were saying at the beginning, if you go to the top of the chapters, certain chapters that have to be, like, or should be read with what's read in the regular Bible, it'll tell you when to read it. So, chapter 11, it'll tell you right here at this part, you should read that, placed in the Greek before chapter 1. So you should read that around the time that you're reading chapter 1. When you go to, chapter 13, it's telling you to read that around the time that you're reading chapter 3, verse 13.
All right, so with that, we're going to pray and anoint the people, and then we're going to be merry and have a good time. God? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.